anytime, any day or night. And, of course, be sure to join us tonight at 11 for 11 Alive News and a wrap-up of what occurred today. Turning to politics now, with just 6 weeks to go until the Georgia Republican primary runoff. New numbers from an exclusive 11 Alive Survey USA poll showing Jack Kingston with a big lead over David Perdue in the battle for a nomination for U.S. Senate. And the poll says more. In the general election, either one would beat the Democratic candidate Michelle Nunn. Now, those surveyed in the same poll also chose Republican Governor Nathan Deal for a second term over his Democratic challenger Jason Carter, which is the same as our last two polls, but this time Deal with a bigger lead here. 6 points now separate the two men. Joining me is Charlie Harper, the editor of the Peach Pundit, a political website for Georgia politics, been around for a long time, and Liz Flowers, a Democratic caucus consultant. So thank you both for joining in on the conversation right now on what these numbers mean. So let's take a look at the exact numbers. I kind of gave an overview for, let's look at the numbers for the Republican runoff for U.S. Senate today. Which Republican would you vote for? Here are the results. Kingston has an 11-point lead. So I'll start with you, Charlie. What does that tell you? I mean, is it simply a matter of Kingston having name recognition after 22 years in Congress, or is it something more?
It's post-general primary. He's consolidating the Republican Party behind him. And a large part of that has to do with third-place finisher Karen Handel being very aggressively supporting Jack Kingston. She kind of represented the grassroots wing of the party establishment, if you will. Kingston, the Chamber of Commerce endorsement, did a very good job with the Republican network. That's coalescing behind Kingston, and I see it probably getting better for him as it goes along.
Liz, jump in here for me, if you will. David Perdue, a political newcomer, I mean, did that just ultimately, hurt him if you go by those numbers?
Well, I mean, I think a poll is a snapshot in time, and I think we have 6 weeks left to go, and we've had a little bit of a break for 2 weeks, and we're going to see the campaigns begin to ratchet with mailing and ad time and a lot of other things. So there's play left in this, I think, before the primary runoff.
All right, let's take a look at some more numbers. If the November general election for Senate were held today and Kingston was on the ballot, the poll says he wins by some 6 points. So this really underscores what you're saying, Charlie.
I think so, because what you have in November, the same issue with Michelle Nunn as you've had with David Perdue. When you can define yourself and no one's attacking you, you have really high positive numbers, and Perdue has led this whole time until this last poll. But as other people get the opportunity to define you, it gets a lot harder. And eventually Michelle Nunn, as she's going to be engaging and having to campaign, she's going to get tough questions, and others will define her. And ultimately, this has become a national election about national politics. I still think Georgia's a red state.
All right, yes, well, I'm going to get to that, because number 3, if David Perdue were on the ballot instead of Jack Kingston, David Perdue beats Nunn by 5 points. Not a big difference there. So my question is, was there ever any doubt that this was and still is a red state, or, is there any purple anywhere to be seen?
Oh, I think there are definitely shades of purple and potentially leaning blue. And here's what we're seeing. The numbers and the polls that we're seeing across the board haven't changed dramatically in the last few weeks. And we really look at these, we're right where we're supposed to be right now. You haven't seen large spending by either Nunn or Carter, or any of the Democrats for that matter. You've had a lot of Republicans who have a lot of high name ID because of the advertising. That starts to shift up now. And I think we're going to see the change over the summer and into the fall.
Yeah, all right, one last set of numbers to take a look at right here in the governor's race. If the general election were held today, no surprise here, Governor Nathan Deal wins according to this survey, and wins easily, taking a look at those numbers there, over Jason Carter. So, are either one of you surprised at these numbers at all?
Not surprised. He just came out of a bitter primary, which he did handily, but there's still some supporters out there that are having to get back on the team. You see that with that third-party finisher showing at 7% in the polls. Yeah. That's about double the number you ever see. I think Deal's numbers continue to go up, and most likely get above 50% by Election Day, so there's no runoff.
When we talk about name recognition, of course, Jason Carter has that, with his grandfather, who he has so obviously left out of his commercials thus far. Do you think that will change?
It could change. I know he's going to be doing some work with his grandfather this weekend, but I will say this. You brought up 50%, and that's a very good point. We see a sitting Republican incumbent governor under 50%, which means something in terms of setting up a battle. The numbers are a lot closer than we think, and when we get down to the general election, when people aren't fighting it out in a primary, I think we're going to see some shifting over to Jason Carter.
That'll be interesting. That's the shades of purple that you were referring to. All right, Liz Flower, Charlie Harper, thank you so much. Hope you have a great weekend. Appreciate it. All right, coming up, the world stops to remember the 7